Hey, welcome here this morning. I'm glad you decided to join me. Before we get started, I want to tell you just a little bit about myself. My name is Todd Reimer. I'm a leadership coach and trainer. And what that means is that I get to sit down with people who are in leadership roles, whether it's a manager, a foreman, a supervisor, someone who leads other people. And I get to help them grow their skills so that they're able to lead more effectively. Now, in the past, I've been a youth worker for just over a decade, and I've been an employer in the past, and I'm going to be an employer again in the next few months here as I hire a few people to work with me. Now, maybe the role that means the most to me, well, there's two actually. Number one, I'm a husband to my wife, Cindy. Number two, I'm dad to 3 young adult children. And so what this means is as I look at your generation, at you, at some of the challenges that you're facing, I care deeply. I care a lot because I'm dad to 3 people who are in your generation. I see the struggles. I see the struggles in their peers. I hear the conversations. And I'm also coaching a number of people in your age bracket. And I care. I care a lot more than just as a coach. I care because I see that you're real people. And I see the frustrations. Now, I also see and hear the frustrations that people who are employing your generation are facing. They're highly frustrated. And there's a reason. The reason is because there's a gap. And the gap is the difference between what an employer or a customer expects when they hire someone, as far as the tools, the skills, the attitudes, the principles that they're going to operate by, and what your generation is typically bringing into the workforce. There's a gap. And that's why I wrote the book, Fill the Gap, How Your Generation Can Enter the Workforce with Competence and with Confidence. Now, this morning we want to talk about 3 things that you can do to help fill that gap. The first one is, you are not a victim. Take responsibility for yourself. Number 2, pick up a broom and walk fast. And number 3, I did it again. Oh my word. And number 3, put down your phone, but answer your calls. So those are the 3 things that we're going to talk about this morning. And we're going to start with, right away, we're going to dip into, you are not a victim. Take responsibility for yourself. This is one of the key things that is holding back people in your generation. There's a number of people in your generation who have or are going to therapy. And part of the problem that results from that is you're told to go over and over and over and around and around and around the same problem. It's like this. This P represents your problem, and you're told you need to talk about it, think about it, blame people who are responsible for it, blame, and then keep going around and around and around, talking about it, thinking about it, dwelling on it. The problem is you never get out of that. In life, this sucks. To go around and around and around the same oval, the same circle in our lives, going around the same problems because we're choosing to see ourselves as a victim of somebody else or of our society and not taking responsibility. It's like we go around and around and around and nothing changes. So what does this translate into for you? Well, here's how you need to take responsibility for yourself. Number 1, take responsibility for where you're at today. What role did you have in getting yourself to where you're at today? Number 2, where do you want to be tomorrow and in the future? And number 3, what do you have to do to get there? Now, there's lots of blame to go around. Our education system is broken. You have not been given many of the tools that you need to succeed when you hit the workforce. There's something called the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. It's an international organization, and they rank countries. And one of the things they rank us on is our education system. And I just read the report, it was late last year, that came out, and they ranked grade 12 students, graduating students from high school. And they ranked all the advanced countries. And North America, here's where we sit. Our students, as they finished high school, are a year behind in their reading and in their science, and 2 years behind in math. That's very, very significant. So are you behind the 8 ball a little bit? Have you had to deal with an education system that depending on where you are, hasn't given you the tools that you need, hasn't necessarily helped set you up for success the way they should have. No, quite possibly. Maybe you come from a home where you didn't learn some of these things. Maybe you got taken to all kind of events and so on, but some of the basics that you need to succeed now in the workforce, they weren't passed on to you. Maybe the situation you grew up in just wasn't great. Okay, there's a lot of people who've come from that who have done really well. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to take responsibility for where you are today, where you want to be, and how you're going to get there? Because if you can do those things, you can get to where you want to be tomorrow and in the future. You can start to fill that gap. All right, part 2 is going to be pick up a broom and walk fast. And we're going to get to that in a split second. All right, so let's talk about pick up a broom and walk fast. Now, if you look behind me, I'm standing in front of a piece of scaffolding. I'm on a construction site. So does pick up a broom just apply on a construction site? Oh, hardly. Not a chance. It applies to any industry, any job, any career that you're going to choose and be a part of. What I mean by pick up a broom is simply this. Instead of standing around when you're done a task and waiting for someone else to maybe tell you what to do next, pick up a broom, figuratively speaking, or if you're on a site like this, pick up a broom and sweep the floor. Nobody's going to complain. If you work in an office, no one's going to complain if you wash the dishes, if you straighten up around the place, or if you ask somebody else, hey, how can I help you? I'm done what I need to be doing and I'm not sure what to do next, so how can I help you for the next 5 minutes till the supervisor's back? Now, if there's nothing like that to do, find your supervisor and ask them what to do. Don't just wait for them to tell you what to do next. This is something that is noticed right away by anybody who's in any kind of a leadership role. When they are working with someone or hire someone, and this person asks them what they need to be doing or looks for things that they need to be doing next, instead of standing there with their hands in their pockets, or worse yet, scrolling through their phone, they notice that. And those are the people that they pay careful attention to, they give extra responsibilities to, they trust them, and those are the people who, when it comes time for a pay raise, they're one of the first ones. And when it comes time to lay people off because maybe work is a little bit short, the people that pick up the broom, figuratively speaking, are the ones who are some of the last to be laid off. Not always, but often that's the case. So pick up a broom. It just simply means doing something before you're asked, looking for something to keep busy. Keep your hands out of your pockets. So that's pick up a broom. Now let's talk about the walk fast part. What do I mean by that? Well, I've got a friend who supervises a construction company. It's a large construction company, but one of the things he does is he watches how people walk, even across the yard back at the shop or on a site where they're doing some work. And the people who kind of shuffle along, drag their feet, or walk slowly without much purpose, those are the people he sometimes looks at and goes, I'm not sure they're going to be a keeper. But the people who walk with a purpose, who walk quickly, and who are thinking as they're walking, they're the ones he'll notice and he'll go, oh, that is somebody we need to invest in. That's somebody we want to keep around. You see, when you're walking, it's not just a matter of walking fast just to walk fast, but you're walking with a purpose. You're not dragging your feet, you're not shuffling, you're not thinking, your mind isn't somewhere else, you're not walking, scrolling on your phone. You're walking, thinking about what you're going to do when you're going to get to where you're walking towards. What I mean is, if you're going to pick something up, instead of waiting until you get there and go, oh, now what do I have to do with this? Start thinking about it before you get there, while you're on your way. Walk with a purpose. Walk fast, know where you're going, and think and plan ahead so you're ready. So you're always one step ahead. Now, speaking about cell phones, what we want to talk about next is put down your phone, but make sure you answer your calls. Okay, so I'm back. We're going to talk now about the third component. The third tool this morning is put your phone down, but return your calls. This one's incredibly important because this is something that's damaging a number of people's futures, a number of people's potential. Because what's happened is this little thing right here is something that we have gotten addicted to. We're used to it and we carry it with us. It's with us all the time. But the problem is, we're addicted. We have a heck of a time putting it down. It's distracting us. It's keeping us from focusing on the people, the tasks, and the things that we need to focus on if we're going to succeed. If there's a couple of videos out on YouTube that you can go and watch, and they're interviewing the two of the three founders of Facebook, not Zuckerberg, but the other two guys. And they both talk about how they deliberately set out to make the app addictive, how they wanted to make it so that people would become addicted to it, and they did it. Some of the wealthiest countries or companies in the world are hiring some of the smartest people and paying them big money to figure out how they can addict us to not just a tool like this, but to the apps. The reality is people are deliberately trying to steal your time. And when someone steals your time, they're stealing your life. We can't be productive, we can't be successful if we're spending all our time on our phones. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel that this thing that you've been scrolling on for potentially years, and all the apps that go along with it, or at least a good chunk of them, are created with the intention of taking your time, stealing your time, and in essence, stealing your life? How do you feel about that? You should be upset. It should bother you. Does it? Hopefully it does, because this is one of the things that is keeping your generation from succeeding in the workplace in particular. Now, what can you do about it? What can someone like you do about this addiction and about the fact that it's a tool that you have to use? Like, we all have them, and it can be a great tool, but how do we make sure that we don't get addicted? How do we put it down? Well, that's the first step. There's 4 things you can do. The first thing is actually put it down and leave it at home. You're going out with some friends, when they pick you up or you leave the house to pick them up, leave your phone at home. You don't have to take it. Or if you need it in order to contact them when you're picking them up, leave it in your car. Put it in your car, turn it off. You don't need it. Well, what if there's an emergency? Right. Like, how many times has there been an emergency in the last 3 years for you that you've needed your phone? It's literally a life and death situation where there hasn't been another option. For most of us, never. What are you feeling when you're gone? What are you feeling when you're not holding this thing? If it's too hard, it means you're probably pretty addicted. It means this is the best thing you can be doing. Well, what's the next thing you can be doing? I wrote them down so that I don't forget. The second thing you can do is gray screen your phone. In other words, make it so it looks like this. I heard someone say that yesterday, someone who was highly productive, and he said he was wasting a ton of time on his phone. And he found that when he gray screened it, he automatically dropped at least 30% of his screen time, because it's not as appealing. There's no bright colors, which, well, yeah, I like watching movies in color. I like watching or looking at my texts or watching clips or whatever in color. Great. But the colors are chosen, the vibrancy is chosen deliberately, in many cases, to addict you, to take your time so you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and spend your time there instead of being productive. So gray screen it, try it. I tried it, it's super uninviting, and I'm spending less time on my phone. I don't want to spend time on my phone. I'll use it more as a tool. So if you're serious about this, try gray screening it. Number 3, read a book. Have a book close at hand. Instead of when you're bored, picking up your phone and scrolling through, pick up a book, open it, and read it. Read things that will make you better. Here's a really interesting fact. If you read for half an hour a day on the same subject for a year, half an hour a day on the same subject for a year, you will have gained the equivalent of just under a bachelor's degree as far as the amount of information that you're going to be taking in and processing. If you do that for 5 years, you will be far ahead of everybody else in your field, because people don't invest in themselves in that way. So read a book. Pick books that will make you better. And the last one is be with real people. The people that we meet online are not people that we're going to do life with. Oh yeah, but I'm gaming with them. Well, kind of. They're remote, they're in a different place. But I talk with people, I see what they're doing in their life. You need people who are real, You need face-to-face conversations with people. This is one of the biggest weaknesses with your generation, is lack of communication skills. In fact, in a recent interview of 800 employers, they just finished hiring college grads, which is people your age who have been through 4 years of university or college. 53% of them could not look the interviewer in the eye during the interview. Now here's a fact that blew me away. 19% of those college grads took at least one parent into the interview. Seriously? Yeah, seriously. If you put these tools that we've talked about this morning and these mindsets into practice and implement them, they're going to change your experience at work. They're going to make you far more valuable in your workplace. You're going to be able to fill a big chunk of that gap just with these 3 tools. So my encouragement to you, my challenge to you is continue to fill the gap. Head to my website at www.youfillthegap.com to pick up the full book. And when you do that, I'm going to also send you a free handbook. It's called Your First 90 Days, Setting Yourself Up to Succeed in Your New Job. What it does is it helps you prepare right from your interview to your orientation, to your first week of work, till the end of your first 90 days and beyond, giving you the tools, the skills, and the perspectives that you need to succeed in this initial time frame. So that comes absolutely free to you when you pick up at least one copy of Fill the Gap. So go to my website, click on the Learn More button below, or www.youfillthegap.com. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and good luck as you implement the tools from Fill the Gap.